Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andrew here, back for our build review show. It is Wednesday, September 11th of 2024. This is a show where we bring users builds up live on stream here, giving them personalized advice about things that they can do different in their processes to help them achieve higher sim ROIs in post-contest flashbacks. So, very fun show. We do this show Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, following office hours. And we have a full list of people to get to today. So it should be a good one. If anybody likes this content viewing and wants to participate, wants me to do this for them, all you got to do is drop your DraftKings username in the office hours channel in our Discord server, and I can add you to the queue for tomorrow's show. So let's jump right in here. Plenty to talk about. Looks like our first user is going to be Mathis. We actually did review Mathis's NFL main slate build, I believe 2 days ago here. But we are going to jump in and look at Mathis's showdown contests from Monday Night Football here. So let's get them up on the screen and let's jump right in. All right, so let's go back to Monday. And as always, going to start in the contest tab. Contest selection looks fine. You know, starting from the ground up, throwing a couple in the Millie Maker. I think that's okay, right? No problems there. Let's jump. Oh, man, I hope we can view these. So let's try and view the Minimax. It looks like this is going to work. Okay, this looks correct. So let's jump in here. Mathis, 150 entries. So let's sort by people who entered 150. Sort by sim ROI. One thing we've been doing is like for people running trains, we've been setting this filter where average dupes is less than like 145. That should help us to get rid of people who are just playing incredibly or running a train of like one lineup 150 times. So that should help us out. But after that, looks like we're about all set here. So highest sim ROIs in the contest. You know, there are definitely a couple outliers. The numbers start to you see more values in like the 40 to 50% range as opposed to some of these outliers way higher here. So let's say that, you know, top sim ROIs in like the 40 to 50% range and Mathis at about 13% sim ROI. So good news, right, is that he's positive. Bad or not bad news, but there's some room for improvement here, right? So let's jump in here and see what we can see to help him grow here. And wow, these are so interesting. You know, Showdown is like one of the most interesting things to study. So you look at, you know, this top sim ROI, right? 41,000 average salary. Part of this has to do with CMC getting rolled out and Jordan Mason being such a good play at low salary, but it is still way lower average salary than all these other players here, right? We see 47s, 48s. And then, you know, this user, right, who has this like 99% sim ROI, average dupes of 281 unique lineups, 125 under 5 dupes. But then you look at the next person, right? The next highest sim ROI, they played completely opposite. 47, 7K average salary, 118 average dupes, no unique lineups, only 5 lineups under 5 dupes. And they grade out really well as well, right? So you have like these polar opposite approaches to performing well in Showdown. And it is mind-boggling, you know, how in Showdown there are so many different paths to, you know, first place to a winning set of lineups here. And then, we see like third, right? A little bit different. Their dupes are almost half of what the second place person is, and they still grade out well. So people are all over the place in Showdown here. But if I were to say anything, I would say that, if I'm at this, right, what I'm trying to do here. So I think the biggest thing, right? He has 128 average dupes, 93.6 sim average score. So we see someone with about the same number of dupes. We see two players, right? He's at 128. This is actually perfect. We see one person with 118. We see one person with 138. Well, in both of those instances, the sim average scores for those players are 96.74, 96.86. So basically what this is telling me is like, hey, if you're going to play lineups that are duped on average 128 times, you need to have higher sim average score lineups. But if you're going to play sim average score lineups around 93.6, which, Reformed Racer here, this is Will, his sim average score is closer to the Mathis's, but his dupes are half, right? So that's kind of what we're seeing. It's like, okay, either you play these dupes and you play higher sim average score, or you play less dupes and you play the same sim average score. Now, how do we get to that point, right? So we'll talk about that in the build, but basically that's what I'm learning from looking at this. Like, if those are one of those two things I'm going to try and achieve the next time I build. All right, so let's jump into the build. See what we can see. So min salary 0, max salary 50K. Default sliders, no rules, no filters, no post-build filters, using multi-fill in the post-build. No adjustments to captains, to flexes, etc. here. So all in all, right? If you're looking for like best bang for my buck, right? This probably took Mathis like 5 minutes to do. Upload contests, open up a build. Longest part was probably letting the 5,000 lineups build. Comes in here, sorts by target contest, sets up multi-fill, saves, loads it up, right? Positive sim ROI lineups. So that's not bad, right? Like if you're looking for time savings, you're looking for things like that, like great, you know what I mean? But if you're trying to increase your sim ROI, then you're probably going to need to spend a little bit more time here or make some adjustments, right? We studied somebody who basically did this exact same process last, I think on Monday. The only difference they did is they set max salary to 48.5. They were like, you know what? I'm going to make one change here. My minimax salaries, I think minimum was like 40,000, but that was still lower than the default. And then they did the exact same thing. And then they graded out as like one of the top sim ROIers in the contest that we studied. And that was, one person's solution to it, right? Like, I'm just going to shoot for lower salary lineups and hope one of them get there. And then that was helping their sim ROIs. Couple things you could do, right? What I really recommend is doing some type of geometric mean filter. So what that looks like is coming into your sorting metrics, going down to add metric, setting something up that says, I want to do ownership, product, geo mean value for every lineup, right? You're going to save that. So then now under every lineup, you're going to have this my metric, and we should rename it, right? So I would come in to this my metric, rename it to geo mean so I know what it looks like. And then now that I have this on the bottom, this product ownership is a way of controlling dupes in showdowns. And we have a entire tutorial on it, which I will share here. But basically, you would use that custom metric and filter to try and get rid of some of the highest duplicated lineups in an effort to play lower duplicated lineups, right? You might sacrifice some projection doing that, but you got to find a balance between the two. And I've heard people talk about like, hey, I want to use GeoMean to filter out 10 to 20% of my lineups. That's okay. Some people, including myself, like to pick a number of dupes to shoot for. That might be 20, 30, 40, 50 dupes. The number's a little bit up to you, but that's another way to approach it, right? So we do have a tutorial on how to use that in our help documentation, which you can find by going to the top right corner, going to help. I'm only sharing my SaberSim screen at the moment, but it'll open up our help documentation, our support library, which will lead you to this article that I will drop here in the YouTube chat. And then I can also drop it in the Discord as well. So let me go grab that. That way I don't forget. And let's find Mathis. Drop that there. So drop to 2 places. But I think, adding this as a piece to your process could end up being very beneficial here and help you to find that balance. So give this a shot tomorrow and check out that tutorial to walk you through how to use it and let me know how it goes. But good stuff. All right. Next person up is going to be Swift here. And we are going to look at their NFL main slate from Sunday. So let's get Swift up on the screen. All righty here. Screen coming up. Lineups are loading. Going to start in the contest tab as always. Check out some of this contest selection. Contest selection looks solid. This is exactly what you want to see. Jamming everything on the lower side here. A lot of single entry and 3 max mixed in. Very, very solid split. So happy with the contest selection for sure. Let's go and look at the quarter jukebox. This has been the contest that we've been reviewing the most here for everybody. And just gives us, a pretty consistent baseline of what we're seeing with different users. So happy to go and pull this contest up. All right. Filter for 20 lineups or by sim ROI. So good news, right? Really, really strong sim ROI, about 50% here. This is exactly what we want to see. Average salary is that the users that were in like the 126 to like 128 sim average score, we're getting up into like the 60, 70% sim ROIs. So that's the only thing I noticed here, right? A little bit low, like 125.3. Not terrible, but I think that, that could end up helping them. So not a lot to view here in flashback. So let's jump into a build. All right. So just describing what I'm seeing, right? Default settings, no filters, no rules, no lineup filters, multi-fill, 1 min unique, no min and max exposures. Oh, 1 to Eosivus, but very, very small, right? Still allowing 3x ownership to him, like compared to 3x exposure compared to ownership. So small adjustment there. I think that's fine on like a high risk player like that. Some small adjustments to some players all these adjustments, right? Really, really close to ownership. So like Tank Dell, 5.56% owned, min exposure, 5%, fine. Trevor Lawrence, 11% owned, 12%, right? Even a little less to Justin Jefferson, but the point is, right, small opinions here, right? Pretty small opinions. Like the biggest one we see is on Kyler Murray, 10%. But all in all, it is okay to be opinionated, right? But I like the way that they're doing this. They're setting these, what they're doing is they're either like pushing SaberSim in the direction they want to go, or they're saying, I don't want to let this player beat me. I'd rather be neutral on them and match ownership and let SaberSim take a shot and find leverage somewhere else. So this is fine. These changes are minute, and a lot of it is simply matching the field, and they're still grading out really well in the post-contest sim. So aside from that, that is like the biggest tinkering we've seen here. And it looks like they did it all in the all tab, which is really good, right? You don't want to do those positional players in their positions. You want to do it in the all tab. So that was a good thing. But other than that, this looks really, really solid here. Some ways to play higher projected lineups, right? Which was the only thing we would have suggested here. Number one, you could try bumping your minimum salary from like 48.5 to 49K is something you could try this week. Another thing would be to filter out the bottom 10% of projected lineups, just coming in here saying, hey, set a filter for show lineups with projection greater than X, and then keep changing X till you've trashed about 500 to 1,000 lineups just to curate those from your pool, so you don't end up playing them at all. But other than that, really, really solid stuff here, really strong sim ROI. And I think that, some of these changes are totally warranted and aren't having a big effect on your outcomes. So good stuff there, Swift. Next up is going to be Cash Money. Looking for an NFL main slate review. We can definitely do that. And let's get Cash Money up on the screen. All right, going to start in the contest tab as always here. So contest selection looks really good, right? We're seeing a lot of like single entries, 3 max. I'm just looking at the fees here, right? This all looks really, really good. We see with like 14 entries in the milli, like, they run satellites all the time. You could earn these so many different ways, right? So chances are they probably had a number of tickets from different promotions or satellites that they won. So totally cool, right? So all in all, I think contest selection here, very, very strong. Let's jump into the quarter jukebox, see how they graded out. All right. Just waiting for lineups to load. Come on, lineups. We were just viewing this contest. In the meantime, looks like the Mets took the lead in the 9th inning. Saw Bowden Francis had a no-hitter. I believe that is gone now. 2 hits, 2 runs by the Mets to take the lead late. Very, very interesting. All right. Try this again. Going to reselect the contest, start this process over. Hopefully it goes faster the second time. Just waiting for lineups. Come on. We could try a different contest, but we haven't had any problems with this contest yet. All right. Hard refresh it is. Get this off screen. Try this again. All right. One more time. Let's see if we can get this contest up. Bringing Saberson back on screen. Hopping back over to the contest tab. Going to the quarter jukebox. Dang, Francisco Lindor homers in the 9th to end no-hitter. Crazy. And then they take out Bowden. And looks like the Mets are falling apart. All right, cool. Finally loaded up. Great. So let's hop over to users. So we got cash here. 20 lineups. Filter for 20. Sort by sim ROI. So good news is they're positive, right? 33%, we know that the sim ROIs in this contest achievable like 70 to 80%. So let's see what we can do to help them increase, right? First and most obvious thing, sim average score about 121.5. Let's jump in here and figure out, why that is, right? I think we're going to learn a little bit more from the build than we're going to learn from being here in flashback. Looks like they swapped all their lineups together. So it's probably one of these first 1, 2, or 3 builds. I don't know which one it would be. But let's just open up build 1. So this looks like default, multi-fill. Not a lot going on there. Let's see what build 2 looks like. Build 2. Okay, so some more minimax exposures in build 2. Actually, like quite a bit minimax exposures in build 2. And then let's check out build 3. Build 3, a lot of minimax exposures again. Okay, so if I had to say anything, I would say they probably went like build 1, build 2, build 3, and then use build 3 and then swapped in swap 1. So let's analyze build 3 here. We're just going to take a guess as to this is the one that they do have aggregate metrics for average projection, average ROI. I think those are good. Now, I think this is a good example of, possibly like doing too much and making too many adjustments to the point where it starts to hurt you, because we see these players who are either setting less minimax exposures or less restrictive minimax exposures. and they're getting to higher sim average scores. So, that is something that kind of stands out to me, is almost like the frequency of these a little bit. Like for certain players where maybe they don't believe in, they're like, hey, I want to use the pool exposure as the max exposure, right? So like they set Hubbard to 10%. They set Iosivas to their pool. They basically like kind of match on Joe Mixon. Rome, they get close to pool, right? But I think like this person compared to the last person we looked at, I think it was Swift. I think there was just less minimax exposures, and Swift still graded out well enough where it was kind of okay. Whereas with Cash here, we see the low sim average score. We see the lower sim ROI. You put the lower sim ROI, which is still positive, but lower with this low sim average score with the exposures, it's pretty easy to say like, hey, I think that this person set too many minimax exposures where they ended up restricting their lineups more than helping them. So what I would recommend is either setting less or setting less restrictive settings here. And I think that will probably help them out the most. Giving the builder back a little bit more control over some of these decisions here. So if to the decisions you're making here, like, hey, I set all of these, right? Were they correct or were they wrong? Was I right more than I was wrong? So like what I do is I like to tinker with projections more. I write down every single projection, and then at the end of the week, I'll go back and grade it and be like, hey, how many of these were directionally right and how many of these were directionally wrong? And I think that'll give you a good sense of whether you're doing something right or you're doing something wrong. And if you are consistently doing something right, then I think even if your sim ROIs are a little bit lower, you can accept those a little bit better, knowing that, like, yes, you're going against the grain, you're going against the SaberSim projections maybe a little bit, but you are right more often than you're wrong, and you can take the sim ROI with a grain of salt. Or you could say, you know what, I'm like breaking even, and this might not even be battering at all, but my sim ROI is suffering. Maybe I just don't want to do this, right? Or maybe I want to loosen these restrictions. So do something like that to help you get a better sense of how much of an impact you're having here. But all in all, still positive. Just rethink some of these restrictions is the biggest thing here. But contest selection was really good as well. All right, good stuff there. Next up is going to be Moose. Let's get Moose up on the screen. All right. And we are going to do another main slate review here. Let's go back to the main. Starting the contest tab, as always. Contest selection looks pretty good. I'm sure that they had, quite a few tickets to like the million, stuff like that. So that's why they end up with like 21 entries. But aside from that, starting with low stakes, staying everything under $1 and, hitting those single entries, 3 maxes, 20 maxes, mini max, right? Got to get that max challenge in. So I think contest selection looks totally fine. Let's jump into the quarter jukebox. Hopefully we load up right away this time. All right. Just waiting for this to load. Cool. Loaded up. So Mustafa here is our guy. 20 entries, sorted by Sim ROI. So good. Nice, solid 60% Sim ROI here. Good salary, good uniqueness, 127 Sim average score, like right in that 126 to 128 range that we've been talking about. So really, really strong lineups. Doubt we're going to see anything bad here. So let's see. Looks like we got to swap 3. Let's just go to build 1. Build 1's probably good. So loading up build 1. All right. So default settings, no filters, no rules, no post build filters, aggregate ROI, using multi-fill. It looks like in batches. Oh no, using single fill in batches. Looks like they just single filled their free contests here. Don't know how they filled prior to that. No minor max. So I'm not seeing a single Minimax exposure, no filters, no rules. You know, this is a pretty hands-off approach, right? And this person graded out really well in the post-contest sims. So I would say, you know, keep the process simple, keep the process short, keep doing what you're doing. But I think that you're doing a lot of the right things here. And, you know, this process probably takes, 5 to 10 minutes to do, which is awesome, right? The biggest difference here is they're doing this like a little bit in batches. So that's probably what takes them the most time. And then they come in and look, they make sure that they late swap, multiple times. I don't know if they did different. It looks like they did 2 sets of late swaps, one for like all their paid contests, one for their free. So this all looks really good. So very, very happy with how Moose's lineups are looking. Keep it up. But all right, everybody, we had 4 people sign up today. A lot of these people weren't doing anything that crazy. We're sticking with a pretty simple process, and there ended up being not that much to talk about because they were grading out so well. So love to see stuff like that. NFL is the most casual DFS sport, and it seems like you guys are taking full advantage of it. So really happy with that. But good luck in all your MLB contests today. I'll be back tomorrow for office hours, 4 p.m. Eastern. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. I'll see you all. Thanks. Bye.